The wait for Sony's next big PlayStation 5 reveal is not over. Sony kicked off the E3 season this week with medium effort, but because I'm a sick freak for corporate speak, I'd actually like to start this week with a presentation Sony gave for its business segment meeting, the Game and Network Services segment in particular, hosted by future CEOs Hideaki Nishino and Herman Holst. Yes, this stuff is stupid, but it will be relevant. Look at this chart. They're saying these 10 games make up 51% of our PlayStation Store revenue. It's the other 9,000 games that make up the other 49%. And looking at that, even though there's 1,000 new games each year, it's barely putting a dent into that healthy chunk the top 10 are making. The math proves it. It's good to be on top. So when you see an initially appealing game like Ballad of Antara, and you learn later it turns out that's a free-to-play game, I can't really bemoan it. You know, shoot for the stars. Shoot for Genshin Impact. Why not? But don't let me skip ahead. By the way, that 9,000 games is a ridiculous thing to advertise when you consider the slop Sony allows to drizzle onto the PlayStation Store. And yes, I have some thoughts on those 2,000 plus publishers, but it's a big day. I'll save those for after the credits. Because look at this next fun slide. Sony has classified their first-party releases into these three categories: tentpole, transformational, and experimental. The three Sony game types. These trapezoids on the right, that one's a triangle, sure. They don't represent quantity, I think they represent budget.
Each calendar year we plan to have at least one tentpole single-player launch during the holiday season.
So in a typical year, you're getting one of these games up here on the top. Then the rest is going to mostly be these transitional games, and then an experimental game perhaps if you're lucky. He gave examples of successes in each of these categories. For a tentpole, you have Spider-Man 2, which sold over 11 million copies. For transformational, you have Helldivers 2, selling over 12 million copies. Experimental, 0 successful examples given. Just imagine something that showcases innovation and unlocks new audiences and targets new genres. Surely we're publishing some of those. But it was interesting to see how Sony communicates to its current and potential investors what their scheme is for video game publishing, because then a day later came the state of play. Quick reminder, as always, that Sony makes sure to brand their own shows two separate ways. High impacts are PlayStation showcases, low impact is state of play. And it's frankly a decent system for managing expectations. This one in particular, they only announced a day before it went live, which is to say, this was never meant to be anything more than pretty good, and in fact, was merely pretty good at best. Monster Hunter Wilds, Astrobot, Infinity Nikki, brand new graphics package, pretty good. But generally, I'd give the show itself a 6.5. It was what it was. I'd say my strongest emotion that I have coming out of the event is bewilderment. Bewilderment derived solely from the big reveal of Concord, seen here in the emerging IP region of Sony's world-class franchises chart. Concord is meant to be one of those orange transformational live service releases. Sony's clearly putting more budget into this title than they ever would have dreamed of for Helldivers 2. And I guess why I landed on the word bewilderment is that it is actually hard for me to imagine where Sony's confidence comes from. What do they see? Why do they continue to invest in this game, in this IP that is so apparently devoid of charisma? And I realize that's rich coming from me, who is also devoid of charisma, who was sent a plaque from YouTube for being in the top 500 least charismatic gaming personalities. But that's the whole point. Charisma is intangible. You can't teach charisma, you can't buy charisma. Most video games don't try. And the alarming thing is that Concord is very clearly trying. So before you see a second of gameplay, the team thought it would be best to show you a cinematic character vignette. And this worked for Overwatch way back when. I don't hate the strategy, but your characters have to work. As much as I do not care about this franchise, I rewatched the reveal trailer and it still holds up.
Enjoying the exhibit?
With Concord, they're trying. They are throwing charisma pitches, but they're not getting them across the plate. I mean, look at this guy's eyes. You're supposed to like him. Here's what's wild is I'm sure you're thinking this too. From the first seconds watching this trailer, you get Guardians of the Galaxy vibes. And then when the characters start talking, you get Guardians of the Galaxy vibes.
Technically, it was a plan, it just wasn't the same plan that we started with.
The trailer keeps going, and then you get Guardians of the Galaxy vibes.
This would be a very dishonorable way for us all to die.
The creators of this almost 5-minute trailer had to be aware of this, and if they weren't before, they can just scroll down and read a couple of comments, and now they do know. Everyone thinks this seems like Guardians of the Galaxy, and the easiest way to dodge that comparison is to be blatantly different from Guardians of the Galaxy in a fun way. Be a but something. Concord, finish the sentence. Concord characters are like Guardians of the Galaxy, but what, Concord? However, perhaps even more troubling is I think Concord failed to differentiate itself even as a video game. It's a 5v5 hero shooter, like Valorant or Overwatch 1. So, what is different about this? Well, it's like Valorant, but Guardians of the Galaxy. The demonstration makes me feel crazy. I'll show you Lennox, who's the second character who got the spotlight in the eventual gameplay trailer. Watch this while wondering, what is this character doing that I haven't already seen in an FPS before? I actually feel stupid watching that. Like I must be missing something. There must be something there that is exciting to someone. Why else would they emphasize this? I do think they have, I think maybe one unique feature to the genre in that they have this deployable gear that persists between matches. It doesn't go away when you die. But listen to the ideas they came up with.
There are healing pads, bullet blocking domes, explosive traps, lane blocking walls, all kinds of ways to support your team.
Just have one new idea, I am begging you. Just have something. Have a worm bucket. Just say half of our alien races are for some reason terrified of worms, so the only way to dispose of it is to get a worm-neutral tank to come in and eat up all the worms. I know I sound crazy, but honestly, I think Concord would be having a better reaction today if it had a worm bucket. Now, Concord does have one concept that I truly, honestly find exciting and unique, and potentially innovative.
Every week, when you log into Concord, you will be welcomed with a new cinematic vignette that will give you a chance to see our characters off the job.
Honestly, yes, I think that has huge potential. I think that's such a cool idea. I think that could work for any game. Sorry, my friends, I'll be right there. I gotta boot up Banisher's Ghosts of New Eden and check out my weekly vignette. But for this unique feature to be desirable, for it to be worth the probably considerable investment you're putting into it, players have to love these characters. What I'm imagining is the potential of how fun it would be to just tease a new character coming up and then they show up in these weekly vignettes. Ideally, you're living in a world where people are like, God, I can't wait to see how Starchild feels about this new guy.
I am glad you avoided a dishonorable death.
But again, I'm not sure that will ever happen, considering the roster as they've been presented seems so uncharismatic. I don't see the star power. Admittedly, I do really like this design in particular, but I'm not convinced at this point that they're going to give her a fun personality. So let's be positive for a second. Let's take a step into Kyle's character workshop. Let's see what I can do to fix these characters up. Of course, I want to look at Lennox. Here's a tease of an upcoming Lennox-focused vignette.
Why are you kissing a tchotchke?
Go ahead and throw that one away. We are never going to care why Lennox is kissing tchotchkes. Now, apparently Lennox's deal is that he loves hot sauce. Now, I believe this can actually work. In earlier seasons, Pikachu had this inexplicable love for ketchup, and this was extremely funny. Now, the humorous aspect of this is that Pikachu has no money and cannot obtain his own ketchup, so he simply has to happen upon ketchup, which makes it even more tragic when a Scyther breaks his bottle. So here's my fix for Lennox. I'm thinking he used to be a butler for a wealthy geneticist, and he was just stealing hot sauce from the pantry too many times. So his evil boss went into Lennox's mind and rewired it so that he can never pick up hot sauce unless it is handed to him. There you go. Now this scene means something. Lennox, fixed. And I realize, considering the current state of the video games business, considering the massive team of passionate people working on Concord, it is poor form to point at it and say it is not exciting enough. However, I feel like that context is also why it is more confusing. Like, Concord, as of today, I would say has an extremely low chance of rising up this graph. But the nice thing is that this game isn't out yet. There is still time. There's still time for the Concord team to dig deep and figure out what is special about their game. And if they can't figure that out, they can at least rest assured that they will be the only big budget team-based hero shooter coming out this year. So no competition there. And that is Delayed Input. I will not be back next week. Next week's off because I'll be in LA for the Summer Game Fest. I will be back the week after that. Until then, thanks for watching. So the PlayStation Store has 9,000 plus games. Don't do a Vegeta thing. 9,000 plus games. And I've been through this so many times. It is so easy for some poor piece of software to slide its slimy belly into that shop. This week I saw something that particularly upset me. It's called off-road Jeep driving. Now, Jeep is a proper noun that is trademarked. It's the name of an automobile manufacturer. You cannot just put Jeep in your video game title, but they did. And I figured if this game is so bold as to do that, what kind of game are they making? And the screenshots are ultra AI. No attempt to disguise that. You can't read what this car is trying to tell you. And if you watch the trailer, there are only two elements to it, really. There are live action vehicles with this gross filter on them, and then stationary vehicles in game that don't appear to ever move. And in fact, some of them are so surrounded by trees, I'm not sure how they're going to get out. So Chetruska Softworks SRI is one of Sony's touted 2,000 video game publishers. So naturally, I both despise this game and also am incredibly curious about what it looks like to play it. And I guess I'm just at a conundrum there, because I have this a lot where I feel bad buying a stupid thing, and maybe an ethically ambiguous thing like this, because between Patreon and Twitch, most of my income just comes from people's generosity. So it seems like you shouldn't do stupid things with that money. However, as I said earlier, next week I'm going to be working on Summer Game Fest. So let's just say, officially, Jeff Keighley money bought this video game. From what I can tell, most of this game is driving on roads. No. Here's the thing. I don't want this game to look appealing. Sony, you probably have to delist this. If Jeep finds out this game exists, your ass is grass. What I would recommend to the team who made this, delist it, cut the word Jeep out of the title, and maybe the word off-road out of the title. Remove the AI screenshots, remove the AI trailer, just present the game as it is, and I wouldn't raise a stink. Hungry Jack is the name of Burger King in Australia, right? Answer the question.
Oh shit!